Before I start, I need to make it clear to those of you who may come from outside the community for Zenless Zero. The events leading up to this situation isn't just some cut and dry case of ZZZ fans canceling someone for making constructive critiques of the game. The primary topic of the video for the most part was spot on, with everyone's feelings about the discussion at hand. It was the half dozen or so other comments and takes made during the video and in a follow-up livestream that set this whole thing ablaze. As someone who's been in a similar situation to the one Rune is in right now, I can empathize with him and hope this video isn't taken as one out of malice. 2 weeks ago, Blue Panda put out a video covering his opinions of Deadly Assault, the Defiler boss, and the necessity of new Eridu Defense Force agents in Zenless Zone Zero. I've already covered the situation in a previous video, exploring how even though I found the core topics of the video were on point, there were several other things within the video that I found counterproductive to tackling the discussion. However, during that video, I had purposely chose to leave out some of the more unpopular or even extreme takes made so I could focus on the core design philosophy of Deadly Assault and how the general ZZZ audience has taken it. Unfortunately, it would appear that the aforementioned other things said, as well as some additional spicy takes made in a livestream the day after Rune's original video came out, have only seemed to put more fuel on the fire, culminating in a YouTube post made early this morning regarding his departure from ZZZ content creation. What you have to understand about making public statements on the internet, regardless of the subject matter in question, is that you will always get pushback to varying degrees. However, you can control how much pushback you get by what you choose to talk about, and more importantly, how you choose to talk about it. Stuff like the Defiler, the bad Deadly Assault buffs, and Obo Squad's strict teammate options are all generally agreed upon things in the ZZZ community. Had this been the entirety of the video, then I doubt Blue Panda would have gotten so much pushback. But then we've got some takes that many players can't relate to that start to lose the focus of the conversation, such as arguing Obo Squad wasn't worth pulling for because they were hard to kill bosses with, intentionally restricting your account but complaining that you need to pull Obo Squad anyway, and being upset because you can't push for a higher and higher score in Deadly Assault, rather than being upset you simply can't get 20,000. This is exactly what I meant in my original video when I said that this conversation is being discussed by a subset of hardcore ZZZ players. A majority of the player base are casuals and only play Deadly Assault to 6 stars for the polychrome rewards and then leave it alone. When you start arguing the state of endgame beyond achieving 6 stars, a lot of people stop caring because to them, it's only about the polychrome rewards, and anything beyond that will just be written off as an elitist problem or even a whale problem, especially if we're talking about scores well beyond 20,000, which seems to be the basis of Rune's video if you go by some of his own comments. But then, we get into the really bad stuff that resulted in a lot of people turning on Rune to the point where the original conversation was completely lost, dismissing ZZZ players who had similar frustrations with Sacrifice Bringer when he debuted alongside Deadly Assault. Specifically a double standard where Ellen Joe mains were struggling to fight Bringer, but Blue Panda's response was to simply suggest that they have an anomaly team built already to fight Bringer. Yet at the same time, Rune complains about not being able to use Haramasa against the Defiler. Rune is allowed to complain about the Defiler, whereas Ellen players are not allowed to complain about Bringer, generalizing the Monoto Kamano main subreddit as a bunch of angry misogynists, and shaming people who liked Seed for being foot fetish lollybait, regardless of a player's own personal reasons for owning Seed, be it her non-sexual elements of her design, her characterization, her story content, or how she will be useful in a player's account. That last one to some of you doesn't sound so bad because to an extent, yeah, Seed does kind of ride on that line, but you have to remember that Rune openly identifies himself as a furry, so you know people were gonna use that against him. I want to emphasize something right now. In a vacuum, none of these issues with Rune's video or his livestream are enough to drag him completely down. Except maybe the misogyny thing, but that's not Rune's fault. That's the fault of modern radical left activists in the real world calling everything misogynistic. The problem is that every single one of these things occurred at once. Not only did that mean Rune had effectively aggroed several different groups whom had nothing to do with talking about ZZZ's Defiler and Deadly Assault, but with each antagonizing statement, he gives himself less and less wiggle room for anyone to believe anything beyond the most bad faith interpretation of what he is saying. And look, Rune, I really don't want to say you're not allowed to talk about lolly culture, but this really is a case of sending the right person for the right job. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't want to be lectured about their sexual preferences from someone who puts softcore furry bait in their thumbnails. This whole situation is just an unfortunate train wreck of a discussion that was meant to focus on what is a generally accepted opinion in the Zenless Zone Zero community, but it got lost completely amidst taking on a bunch of dynamic side quests that Rune came in unprepared for. Before I close the video out, I want to speak to Rune directly. As someone who's been in similar situations before in gacha content creation, I completely empathize with the feeling of wanting to walk away from it all. I know what it's like to spend hours upon hours working on a video with controversial opinions and takes that you don't ever think are controversial to say as you're working on the video the entire time, and only receive the rude awakening the moment it's out in public. If you don't want to return to ZZZ content creation, then I completely understand and ain't gonna try to compel you to come back. I was there and saw the initial comments on your post this morning and how some of the more hostile responses were getting upvoted well above the positive ones before you had to remove them. But I at least want to give you some advice before departing. It's important to stay on topic when giving your thoughts about a certain subject matter. If you want to bring something else up, even if just for a moment, seriously consider if it's something better left to be said another day in another video. The focus of the video was never the problem. The problem was how the focus was lost amidst the video.